Welcome back to the Alternative Highest Podcast, the number one podcast in southwestern Ontario. That is just a fact. That line kind of feels funny to say when I'm when I'm interviewing another local podcaster. I don't feel bad because that is my arrogance. However, a quick PSA: 65% of you are not subscribed. You're just over here watching me for shits and giggles. If you don't mind, go hit the subscribe button, leave me a comment, and with that, on with the show. Today's episode.
I was going to say, do you ever watch Jesse on Fire?
I don't.
Okay. He actually says if you don't subscribe to him after all that work he's done, he used to say, you're stealing from me. Just hit the subscribe button. That's all you got to do. I'm not asking for anything.
What he said. So, what he said. Billy and I, we go back a little bit. I've known him for a few years now. It has been an experience, but I've never actually got the chance to get to really know you. What I know of you is we're brothers.
We are. Hey, I wore the ring.
Yeah.
Why is it? We're brothers because we're both members of the same lodge.
We are Freemasons.
Yep, Freemasons, St. John's number 9. We should do a shout out to St. John's number 9, Chatham. Yeah. But yeah, I joined there. I was already a member at Parthenon, and then I left there, came over to St. John's, and then did I help initiate? I helped initiate you.
You did my charge. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever witnessed. That's why I knew that this would work so well. The way you articulate and the way you speak is so, it is amazing.
But it's scripted though, right?
But you learned it, the way you told me you learned it is very wild.
You just sit there little chunks over and over and over again. There used to be a minister named Jack Van Impe. I know a lot of people do not like televangelists. They hate televangelists, but I converted to Christianity about 25, almost 30 years ago. And I'm not here to be any kind of, I am not, if you look to me as an example, I'm sorry, I'm going to let you down. Especially if you watch my podcast. But anyways, what was I talking about? Oh, Jack Van Impe. So Jack Van Impe, he memorized 25,000 verses of scripture. That was the full New Testament, a third of the Old. And the way he would do it, he had flashcards. He'd put like 10, 15, 20 scriptures, however much time he had, on each flashcard. Yeah. And then he'd take the first pack of cards, say it 10 times over each of them. Yeah. And then he would do, next week, he'd make another one. So that one he'd say 10 times over. The ones that he had from the first week, he'd say 5 times over. And then on the third week, he'd make another pack of however many, say those 10 times over, while the first pack was down to 2, and then the other pack was down to 5. He's just constantly saying this stuff over and over and over again. Then he could recall whatever Bible verse he wanted or whatever topic.
That is wild.
I don't care what your beliefs are. That was impressive.
That's very impressive.
So I started doing that with the Bible, and in short order, I memorized over 500 verses of scripture that I could just recall at any given time. And
that's impressive.
Well, the reason I did that is because I kept getting my ass kicked in debates. I thought, all right, I'm going to start doing what this guy does. I'm going to memorize things by topic, and then I can just keep on. It's like verbal diarrhea. You just keep, boom, 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 boom.
That's crazy. I had no idea.
But the only thing is, I've grown from that, because just because you can spout off a bunch of scriptures doesn't, or anything on any topic, doesn't mean you're right. Because you could be taking that out of context. There could be some nuance to the whole discussion that you're not getting. In anything you're talking about, proof, text, evidence, it's all good, but you might not be right in your interpretation of events either. You know what I mean? But still, you got the information in your head.
That's really amazing. I had no idea that's how you got to that.
I put that into the same practice with Masonry, because like your producer here, he's into film. And Freemasonry, when I'm not going to give too much away, but I think we can safely say, without breaking our obligation, there is a bit of a play acting aspect to it. So once you realize that, you put it in your head, put the script in your head. After you get it in your head, then you start saying it kind of like you're an actor, right? Playing a part, right? Because you want the initiation to go really well. And I remember when you got your 3rd degree, people kept backing out, right? And I'm not like lambasting anybody from St. John's. We are busy. We are all working men. And I can say working men, not working persons. We are all men at the lodge. So we got busy. But when you got initiated, your third degree, I was like, I'm not missing this for the world. And I was busy. But I knew how big of a deal it was for me. So I wanted to make sure I was there for you
I
at the same
really
time.
appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
It was magical. 25 years, you switched over. What did you do before 25 years ago?
I switched over.
So you said Christianity 25 years ago?
Yeah, Christianity was 25 years ago. So
what was it before?
Let's take this conversation right south. Let's commit social suicide right now. I was extremely depraved. I'm still extremely depraved. But I wasn't even trying to fight it, and I didn't understand that. Right? You and I talked before. We're going to go down this hole, and so we'll back up a second. We'll talk about masonry for a second, because the way I discuss this now is nobody's perfect. We talk about God, the great architect of the universe. God is the epitome of the master mason. Knows how to use the tools perfectly, never messes up. God is perfection. There's nothing wrong with the working tools. The problem is with the people using the working tools. We use the idea of tools in masonry as allegory for morality, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's nothing wrong with the tools. It's the problem with the person using the tools. And the problem with the person using the tools is that our hearts are depraved and we can't be perfect. So none of us are perfect, but some of us, we fell to a level that society does not tolerate anymore. And that was me. So when we ask the question we start talking about depravity, the question is, how does a child who came from, I would say, an upper middle class family, both parents together, how does that guy go astray? How does someone with my privileged background fall off like that? And so we could say, like, I mean, when I was in school, I learned very young. I was not the most popular. I got picked on a lot. I started learning how to fight because it made me feel powerful. And I had a couple of teachers, maybe we could say it was them, because I had some teachers that were, one in particular, Mrs. I won't use her name because I know she's still alive. She actually just retired, but she was brand new. She was awesome. I loved her. And then the next year, something happened over the summer. She was my teacher again, and she went just nuts. She completely changed. Her attitude toward the students changed. Now, by this time, I was developing a problem with authority. We didn't get along anymore, right? Okay. And so my problems with authority just got worse and worse and worse. And my mom and dad, my dad, a pillar in the community for 40 years, coached bowling, baseball. He was just always involved in the community and hockey. But he had no idea that I was dying inside. I was getting bullied constantly. I went through an entire year terrified to go to school, and that's where I learned I had to fight. So by the time I got to high school, I didn't want to hear anything from anybody, and nobody could tell me anything. So I dropped out of school when I was 15, and I was getting violent toward my parents. My dad, I was smacking on him, and my dad's biggest mistake was that he didn't throw me up against the wall and say, "Listen, you hit me again, I will beat the ever-living shit out of you." That's what he should have did, because I was out of control. But my dad wasn't like that. So it got to the point they kicked me out. I got working at Ron Kopp's Used Cars in Chatham. I was a car detailer there. And I just couldn't keep my mind on anything. By this time, substance abuse was the norm. Any money I had, I was always looking for some way to get drunk or high. My friends from Merlin, they didn't want nothing to do with me. I think I freaked them out too. And so it got so bad when I was living on my own. Starting to hear, like, I'd be working at Ron's. On top of breaking things, I started hearing. I swear to you, I was hearing voices in my head. I was paranoid. I was thinking there was a scenario. There was something going on around me. Everybody's a part of my drama. They just don't know it. So I would hear my name being called.
Just hallucinating.
I was hallucinating or something. I really believe there's a point you can get to. And I had made a lot of enemies too. So I didn't even want to walk down the sidewalk. If I saw anybody else walking down the sidewalk at me, I just assumed this is going to get violent. I got to get on the other side of the road. I was more dangerous to myself, I think, than anything. Yeah. So one night before it all fell apart, I hitchhiked out to Merlin, went to a friend's party, and I got scars all over my arm now because I thought it was cool to burn yourself. Like I was harming, I realize it now, I was harming myself, right? So I was taking cigarettes and putting them out on my arm. So we were smoking dope. I took the hot knife and I squared it on my arm, and I didn't flinch. It hurt, but I didn't flinch, right? And the party was over. It's time to go home. But that landed me in surgery. I had to go to surgery to get skin grafts on my arm. And shortly after that, I went to a party. I went to a, this is leading up to Brentwood.
Yeah.
I went to my uncle's wedding, and I lost it. I was being rambunctious, and I think my brother came out, said, "Look, they're getting tired of you in there, Mason. You need to slow down." And so I took my beer. I was like, "Well, they can effing suck me." I chucked it against the wall, and then I freaked out. My uncle came out, and he's like, "Mason, what the heck?" And so he got talking to me, and I ended up breaking down. And I was like, you have no idea what the heck's going on in my head. I'm hearing voices in my head. I'm paranoid. There's some shit going on. Like it was actually pretty scary. And so he said, "All right, well, I know what you're going to do. Here's what you're going to do. You're not going to argue with me. I'm going to call Brentwood Recovery Home, and you're going to go to Brentwood."
Yeah.
And so I thought, great, and so I started going through that process, and that's where, I wish somebody had warned me about Brentwood. I wish someone had told me a few things before Brentwood, before I went there.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot.
So
I get into Brentwood, and this is where, when I made the reference to committing social suicide, I want to be careful what I say here. I'm going to slow down a bit, because what I wish they had told me about Brentwood before I went was how intense it was. Brentwood, they did not at the time, we're going back a few years. I don't know how they are now, but maybe anybody watching this, you can, if you're considering going, just ask some questions. It's an intense program based on brutal, cold honesty. Nobody cares about what you've been through. That was their philosophy. They don't care if you had a teacher that was bullying you. They don't care if you got bullied around by other students. They don't care what your sob story is. I mean, we had guys in there.
Just tough love.
It's all tough love. The men that were in there, and I'm not judging anybody, some of these guys had been molested when they were younger. They actually had legitimate sob stories. Their parents were brutal. Yeah. They didn't have any home life. They were raised on welfare. It's easy to see how they went the way they went, right? There were guys in there that had been in and out of jail. There were pedophiles in there. And I feel different about that now than I did back then, because I really didn't want to hear. I'd have a hard time sitting in the room listening to a guy tell the stories.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that. So nobody told me how cold this place was. So the first time I sat down in a group setting, I went to tell them the same story I just told you. And Don McKenzie, my group leader, said, "Shut the F up, Mason." So I was trying to keep my swearing to a minimum, but he said, "Shut the F up, Mason." I just used my name. Can you bleep that out? "Shut up, Billy." I said, what do you mean? He's like, you're so full of shit, okay? You don't even know you're full of shit. So what are you talking about? This really happened. I was treated poorly. He said, "No, it's what you did to others we care about, right?" And so I got all pissed off at this guy after the group setting, and I followed him into his office. I said, "What do you mean I'm a bullshitter?" He said, "Oh, you're actually what do you call me? You're a habitual liar." I said, "That's all you are." So I'm not a habitual liar. I don't even know what that means, actually. I said, "What is a habitual liar?" First of all, he says, "You would lie even when the truth served the purpose. That's the truth about you, Mason." And I said, that's complete. That's nonsense. And he got over his desk, and he got within an inch of my face. He's like, "Don't get lippy with me, son." And I was like, well, what the frick? I was used to bad-mouthing my dad, but Don McKenzie was an old Army vet. Don was an old guy. I probably could have taken him, but he didn't care.
You weren't walking that line.
No, I wasn't a walk. Actually, I respected him.
Yeah.
Immediately, I was like, "Okay, shut your mouth. This guy's not taking your crap." In fact, yeah, so that I would say, if you go to a place like Brentwood, you do have to watch your mouth.
How did it work the first time for you?
Yes. I want to go back and tell you how intense this program is why it worked. The intense honesty. Because I don't know how deep you want to get in this, but Brentwood's the kind of place, it's almost to an absurd level. They wanted you to confess every single thing you did, every single thing you thought of. And when you sit in a group, you see all the men. Men were segregated. Men and women were separated. we can go into the like how the program works a little bit if you want, but men were segregated, and you'd see all the men. They were very happy to talk about their tough guy stories, all their stories of their glory stories. You didn't hear too many men wanting to admit the dirty secrets they did that were constantly leaving them feeling weak and guilty. So you had sexual perversion. And I said the extreme form was the fella who was a pedophile. Some of the stuff I'm not going to mention. No, it's even worse. If I could, it's even worse than that. I won't even, it's just, if you think that, like, you know what I mean, how bad people are. But some of the basic stuff, look, we're adults here. You had burly men, and this is the weird thing. We all talk about it now in society, but you had men that were leading double lives, usually big city guys, right? People were not wanting to talk about their sexual experience, like homosexual experiences. You had straight men that were sometimes victims when they were kids. Sometimes they were in prison. Sometimes they were just curious, right? Those are the kinds of stories people don't want to talk about. Now, in my group of friends, we weren't into that in Merlin. That's just not how we rolled. And I feel kind of bad because we had one guy that did live in town that was like that, and we treated him horribly. But it wasn't my thing. I had my own things that I'm not proud of. But those are the kinds of things that people would share. And their philosophy was if you've either done it or you've thought about it. And if you thought about it, they wanted you to share it. So you imagine, this is why I said it's to a point of absurdity, they want you to be honest. Because your mind is like a thought factory. You kind of can't help thinking stuff sometimes, right? You try not to think about something, then you think about, but they want you just to be, that program wants you to be honest with yourself. Yeah. Just be honest about who you are, what you've done, because this is the stuff that is taking you to the grave. It's the stuff you feel guilty about that if anyone ever found out. And then on top of that, it was about learning that you're not the only one that is this way, because you go through life isolated. Even now we're connected more than ever, but we're also more isolated more than ever, right? Because no one really wants to get to know each other that personal. Yeah. And they wanted you to realize, hey, look, you're just like me. This guy over here is just like me, In fact, I think all of society is just like me in many ways. But like I said, the people that land in a program like Brentwood took it a bit too far. Yeah. They just went a little further down. Yeah. But the older you get, and this is why I said we're all adults, the older you get, the more you realize everybody's dirty. You've experienced some stuff. Your producers experienced stuff. I've experienced stuff. I can't look around without seeing everybody kind of leading a double life. Everybody's got some sort of compartmentalization, and it's just some of it's not accepted. And then some of it would be accepted in society, but people are embarrassed and ashamed of it, right? You know what I mean? Like the whole, like these guys, they're afraid to, Now, your friends might not like what you've done, but whatever, you'll get new friends. You get what I mean? Like, yeah. So we're all dirty, But anyways, yeah, that's the level of intensity that they have in that program.
Would you recommend it? Because it seems there's a double-sided here. It's, you love it, you hate it, but it was really like when you're put as a man. Yeah. And I know your personality now, but when you're put with pedos and other men that are nothing like you or your personality, it's very hard to sit in the same room with them and consider yourself on that same.
I would warn anybody because I honestly, I don't know that I could do that program again, because what that man shared. Now, I was young, never been to jail. Brentwood's about as close to, if you want to know what people in jail are like, that's about as close as you're going to get to it without going, okay? I can only imagine, a lot of the guys in there had been in and out of prison. I can only imagine what they were thinking as they were sitting there, listening to this guy tell his story. It probably took everything inside them not to get up and kill him. Because that's how, most of us, think of the, YouTuber JD DeLay, make wood chippers great again. That's the attitude most people have. That's my attitude. I'm sorry. I got a 2.5-year-old. Yeah. I'm not down with that. So that would be the caution I would give you. Beyond that, you're going to hear, if you can imagine even worse things than that, you're going to hear all sorts of stuff that will make you feel very uncomfortable if they're still doing it that way.
Yeah. And so maybe research it before you go and make sure that you're choosing the right facility for yourself.
Yeah,
Rehab facility, that is.
Well, the whole point, like I said, is to get you to look at. They don't care. The reason why they don't care what you've been through is because they want you to learn how to live.
Read you in yourself.
No, they want you to learn how to live. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, so some stuff happened to you.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with the rest of your life now?
Yeah.
You're going to treat everyone like garbage? Like, they want you to recognize that no matter what you've been through, you can't go around treating people like garbage. Like, that's what they want you to see. But they don't express it like that. You know what I mean? Like, they kind of leave that part out. You figure that out once you've been there for a while, right? Like
that would be a lot.
So did it work? You asked
Yeah.
Did it work? Yeah, I mean, define what we mean by work. I don't believe the philosophy that you can never drink. I do enjoy my beer. I never drank for several years though. And recovery, I can't tell anybody, do I recommend Brentwood or whatever? Does it work? It will not make you a perfect person because, as I said, God is perfect. God is the only one who knows how to use the working tools perfectly. You will always have some level of depravity in you. Even the most upstanding of us have. But will it help you control? Will it help you think more about your actions? I would say. I actually think you're screwed. If you go through Brentwood, if you go through an intense program like that where you are constantly doing introspection and then you think you're going to walk away from that and just pick up where you left off, like they say, you just pick up where you left, you won't be the same.
Interesting.
Because you know too much now. Your eyes are just open. I learned more about myself and human beings in that program. Like I'd say it aged me by like 20 years, man, just listening to people.
Very fascinating.
So does it work? Yeah, it gives you something to think about. You know, some
Did it
people
piss you off a little bit?
Yeah, because they're telling you stuff that you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
You know, but when I walked out, there's something to it when I leave and I'm being respectful to my mom and dad. I'm apologizing to my mom and dad for the hell I put them through.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't tolerate that from my kids. I'd flatten them. No way I'd tolerate the crap I did. So there is something to it. When you walk out of there, I'm really sorry for what I did. I cannot believe I thought it was okay to treat you like that. That's because in that program, and as an 18-year-old, from my perspective, I'm sitting there with guys that had been in and out of prison. I'm sitting there with guys who'd absolutely ruined their lives. And they're coming down on me saying, you better shut your mouth, man. Like that, it's self-correcting. You know, there's one fella in there. I'll tell you a story. There was a fella in there, Don. His name was Don. Don had been in and out of jail. I'm not going to give his last name. If he watches this, he'll recognize me. He'll know me. Don was in and out of jail. We had a disagreement. Now, Don, he lived by the jail code. Don is not, this is what you learn there. You get around guys like that, they're not going to run from you. I was from small town Merlin. We got into fist fights all the time. It was never a big deal to back down from, because you're just, it's not jail. But when you run into people who have been in and out of jail, it's different. So we got into it, and I said something to him. He said something to me. We're going to meet behind the facility, and we're going to have it out. But at the time, I was suicidal. Like I couldn't get kicked out. Number one, and I'd be lying to say I wasn't a little bit afraid to fight too. You know, like if you say you're not scared of fighting, you're full of shit.
Yeah.
But I, you know, different circumstances, maybe I would have did it. But I went to him. I said, I can't do this, man, because we're going to get kicked out of here. I just can't. I can't. I'm going to die. Okay, that's the point I was at. When you're hearing voices and you're suicidal, just like suicidal, those thoughts, they're seductive, man. They're seductive. It makes you not care about life anymore. Mm-hmm. So I said, I have to stay here, man. And you know, he let me off of it. He never said a word to me about it. He didn't rub it in my face. He didn't tell me I was a bitch. He didn't, none of the stuff that would have happened if we were like, you know, incarcerated. He let me off. Now, I didn't realize how big of a deal that was until much later. Years later, I started learning about, you know, some of my friends had been in and out of jail now. Yeah. One of my buddies I knew in Merlin, he's passed away actually from Chatham here. Mark, you know, he knew the guy, you know, and he told me he would have went, like he wouldn't have even thought twice about it, right? Yeah. He told me in jail culture, like there's no question, you just, if someone challenges you, you have to stand up for yourself. And so that's when I realized this guy did me a favor. You know, so I always appreciated that. But anyways,
that it is strong, and he felt you in that moment, because that's a tough one.
It's possible he had no other choices either, because some guys were in there not to go to prison, right? They were literally given the choice. You either
he understood it.
We had guys in there. One fella, him and the guy he tried to murder were in there at the same time. And yeah, they were forced to talk to each other. And they had to go to court together while they were in there.
So I asked you how it worked. Now, with the discipline that you've learned through this hellish experience, where did it lead you to?
So I faithfully attended let me back up. Brentwood has Tuesday night meetings, or they did back then. Every Tuesday, we got to leave the house, come down to Chatham, do the meeting. That was in anticipation for the day we would be discharged from the program and become alumni. And once you're discharged, you're expected to join an AA group. So I joined one. It was at Christ Church. I think that was the one I joined. And I went to an AA meeting like every night. I was very, very engaged. I had just gone back to school at 19, and actually it was when I was 21. That's when the government put the kibosh on anybody over 21 attending public education. So they let me stay longer. Okay, so at the same time I was getting out of Brentwood, I wanted to get into bodybuilding. I'd been exercising since I was 11. My dad started taking me to the Y, so I did that for a few years, got into the drugs. I worked out a little bit off and on. Then I wanted to get really serious into it. So I got into bodybuilding at the same time I was doing AA. And I didn't realize that bodybuilding was going to take me out of AA. The difference between the gym and the AA, this is why I left. When you go to AA, there's this, I don't know, there's a lot of people. I got to preface this. I got to be very careful what I say here. It brought me down. Just say that. It brought me down. From someone's perspective in AA, they would say I lost appreciation for AA. I can't say that AA did not help me keep me alive, because it did. But I had converted to Christianity at the time. I got into the gym, and those two things right there just took me out of AA. AA itself, sorry, I don't mean to go here, but AA itself is a spiritual program. And the philosophy behind it, everything, I just I couldn't square it. It
didn't work with you.
No, it didn't work anymore, because I started looking at everybody as being depraved. Not AA, we were just kind of different. You're different. Yeah. I didn't see us as unique anymore. I just saw us as more depraved than everybody else, kind of like I articulated earlier. So that was working against me. So that took me out, but the bodybuilding. When you go to the gym, everybody in the gym is positive. You go to the gym, you work out now. You see everybody's working on something. Everybody's building their life. There's no, poor me. Everybody that's in the gym is, maybe I get to know you a little bit, we'll talk about that stuff. But at the gym, everybody's got goals, right? And so it motivates you. So I would go from the gym to this environment right here, and I'm like, I just felt brought down. I always felt like I was brought down every time I went to a meeting. So I got more committed to the gym. I got into bodybuilding. I competed a couple of times, and then I ended up getting out of bodybuilding. It was Christianity that got me out of that too, because that got to the point where bodybuilding was, my trainer was being very negative toward Christianity. It wasn't bodybuilding per se. It was also my trainer's attitude. Like I got a cousin who, she got in with the same trainer, and it was a disaster for her too. But she didn't get out of bodybuilding. Yeah. She went pretty far. But anyways, that's what got me out of it. That got me into.
All these years later, you still look really great.
I exercise. Yeah. You know who really pisses me off is Ben Lennon. I know Ben. Ben from Chatham. Ben's gonna watch this.
Oh yeah, I know.
He pisses me off because frickin' Ben could be out of the gym for like 3 years, and he comes back in. Yeah, I'm getting back in the gym. And he comes in, and he's still jacked. Yeah, he's cut. He's jacked. He won't agree with that, but he is.
That's who I started my whole social thing with, was Ben.
Oh really?
Yeah. He's wild.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, but that's the thing though. Some guys he's just like that. But anyways, yeah, that's what got me out of it. And then school. Even though I did Brentwood, I did AA, I did bodybuilding, and it was positive, I still blew my school, and that's how I got into trucking. Yeah. Because I had a friend in AA who's now one of my best friends still. He was a truck driver. I was 21 looking for a job. And so my buddy, he's like, well, I said, what do you do for a living? He's like, I just drive a truck. I drop a trailer off, pick another one up. And I thought, well, that's pretty simple. So I too will drive a truck, and I will do what you do. It's very simple. And then I got into it and I found out it was anything but. There's a point when you go to US Customs and you're sitting in, anybody who drives truck knows this, you're sitting in X-ray at 4 o'clock in the morning and you're saying, F my life. The way it works, you go to the booth, and then they're like, take it over to X-ray. So you go, you get in line, and your bladder's about to explode because stupidly you drank a Tim Hortons coffee before going to the border. And you're not allowed to get out. No. They don't care if you piss your pants. You're not allowed to get out of your truck. Yeah. You got to wait till you're X-rayed. So you pull into the X-ray building, and you walk in. You're sitting on a steel. You're sitting on a steel like what do we call it,
Great.
the bench.
Yep.
And there's a two-way mirror. You're not allowed to leave till they're done.
Yep.
And then they come out, and you're just sitting here.
Yep.
You hear the X-ray working, and you're just like, what did I do to get here? I'm thinking of Seneca, right? I'm thinking of, you know, the old ancient philosopher. I used to read this guy all the time. He's like, if you could just live with a lot less, you wouldn't really need to worry about earning so much money. This is a rich guy saying that, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's what I need to do. I need to live on a lot less, so I don't need to drive truck. I'm trying to find ways out of it. Like my life sucks at this point, right? So that. I've been involved in transportation for 25 years. I started off with, I did some long haul, I did mushrooms. I ate mushrooms at one point, but that was earlier. I did mushrooms, then I got doing auto parts. That was the majority of my experience. And then I got into the environmental waste industry, which is where I'm at now. And there's several environmental companies around. And then I don't know, that's where.
How did it morph you into your podcast?
Because it's what I do. No, you hear guys say, like, talk about things that you do, right? Yep. Because if you talk about something that you do, you'll probably do a whole lot better at it, right? So, and then we talked earlier about being a bit narcissistic. I'm not afraid to see myself on YouTube or get negative comments or anything like that. To me, go ahead and say what you want. Say what you want, because it's going to help my algorithm. Yeah. So I don't care. That's all I care about, right?
Yeah. What's the name of your podcast?
The Golden Belt Buckle Podcast.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So now the Golden Belt Buckle, that's a joke between another friend of mine, Melissa Jacob. I know she's going to watch this. So we would be driving down the road, and we make fun of truck drivers. Truck drivers they're comical, right? Yeah. My old trainer, I'll give you an example. My old trainer, he'd be driving down the road for whatever reason. Whenever he got on the mic, he'd start sporting a Southern accent.
Okay.
I'm going to get me a new truck. And I said, why are you talking like that, man? Like, you know, truckers, they just, that's how they talk, right? Yeah. You know, yeah, we got a couple bears down there by the pickle park there, driver. We got, you know, they're just, you know, this lingo, but they always, the way they talk on them, like, yeah, they change their voice. So, and we just started making fun of it. Somehow that, you know, yeah, tie your belt buckle up really tight there, driver. You got a snow squall ahead of you, you know, so I should be talking, you know, but yeah, that's, so that's how we would start talking on the radio. I'd start doing it when I'm in the truck, and, you know, other drivers would start making fun of me, right? So that's where the name Golden Belt Buckle Podcast came from, was just making fun of truck drivers, quite honestly. And Billy Belt Buckle, that's just another, it's my professional name, making fun of trucking. No, quite honestly. That's
Billy, I can appreciate it.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming.
Sorry, let me just really quick. Truckers, another reason why truckers, like, they have this attitude like they own the road.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we own the night out here. You know, like you see listen to the song Convoy. You know what I mean? Like, just they got their really inflated view, some of these guys, about their profession. But anyways, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I totally respect. I was on the other side of it. I sold transports for a lot of years, and I got to see the personality. I understand it.
I recall you telling me that, and I was jealous because your pay ceiling didn't exist. Mine exists between 80 to 100,000. Yeah. So I realized I'm in the wrong business. Anyway,
it's all good, man.
Yeah, that's why I'm poor.
Billy, my guy, brother, I can't tell you enough how this was amazing. I appreciate you. Ever since the first day I met you, I've loved speaking to you, but this was a whole experience. Thank you so much.
Sorry you had to endure it.
No, again, I think we'll do another one at some point, because this was great.